Hello, this is David D. Hilster. I'm a critical thinker, dissident scientist, and if you're not buying exactly what mainstream physics and cosmology are selling, this is the place for you. There are thousands and thousands of scientists from around the world that have been working for decades outside the mainstream who have identified problems, fixed those problems, and are proposing new theories and models. You won't find anything like this on YouTube, so be sure to click the subscribe button below and the little bell next to it and to be alerted to our next video. What am I talking about today? Well, we are in full worship mode of this man, Stephen Hawking, a physicist who just passed away. And of course, he passed away on Pi Day and Albert Einstein's birthday. You notice you're going to see a lot about him, but you're not going to see a lot about his theories or his ideas. And that's a little strange because if he was so important, when Steve Jobs, for instance, passed away, they were talking about all the great things he gave the world. They didn't talk about that he died on Bagel Day. So what is with this? So today's talk and video is going to be about me, David D. Hilster, critical thinker, and other critical thinkers, what we think of Stephen Hawking, what we think of all this hullabaloo about the passing of this man. Well, let's take a look at this photo right here. This is on Albert Einstein's Facebook page, which has over almost 20 million followers. He doesn't seem to want to break that 20 million mark. I guess we found all the people who want to believe and make believe that Albert Einstein is somewhat still alive. But of course, that's a lot of marketing and a lot of money. But anyways, getting back to the Hawking story, we see him sitting here on Pi Day with pi around his head as a halo. When I say we're in full worship mode, folks, we are in full worship mode. A lot of people say, no, David, we're thinking of him and being in heaven. No, the problem is we're worshiping this man, and we're going to take a look at this. Let's go on, and here's a meme that I found also on Facebook that one of the people who I follow put there. Again, this idea of he getting up out of his wheelchair. Now, this is really important to what I'm going to be talking about today, and that is, you know, we are more fascinated in reality about his Stephen Hawking's, about what he was as a person and the struggle he had as a human triumph of a person who used only 10% of the brain and spent most of their lives in almost a shell of a body, yet did great things. But the great things are the problem. You know, maybe he's a human triumph, but maybe a scientific travesty. Well, let's go on here. Stephen Hawking, of course, will be looked at for many days now. People go, okay, I know about him. I'm going to read about him. So they're going to go to Wikipedia. That's the normal thing they're going to do. And they're going to read about him. And they're going to find out that he had the theory and prediction that black holes emit radiation, often called Hawking radiation. He's very much known for the Big Bang, and black holes, sort of the whole life cycle of the universe. So he had a Hawking radiation, is often called that. I don't know, that means it's probably not officially called. Hawking's was the first to set out a theory of cosmology explained by the union of the general theory of relativity and quantum mechanics. Okay, wow, that's just, I mean, quantum mechanics. Oh, this guy's brain is huge. This guy's just one of those geniuses. He was a vigorous supporter of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Now, I will not go into this, but it just suffice to say that this is one of the most ludicrous ideas. I'm going to have to do a video on this because you're not going to believe it. The average person, or even the person who likes science, go and read about that. This is voodoo magic at its best. So he was a vigorous supporter of that. To me, that's not good. Okay, let's keep going here. This is really interesting. This is a review from Stephen Hawking's book, A Brief History of Time, which he wrote in 1988, which I think was republished in the mid-2000s. Don't quote me on that. But he has his book, of course, on Amazon, and I'm sure lots of people are going there maybe to even buy his book. And you can go find the reviews, and the reviews are way close to 5, and there are thousands of them. So therefore, it must be great. It's sold all around the world in so many languages, been on the bestseller list for blah, 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 blah. So why all the great reviews? Well, because most people who read it don't want to admit maybe they don't understand everything that's in the book. And if they say they don't understand it, then people will think that they're stupid. And so a lot of them will say, no, I understand, and talk the talk and walk the walk and parrot pretty much what was said there and pretend to understand it. Now, that's pretty much the summary of mainstream physics and cosmology in general. But let's take a closer look at this particular review, which I went through and I read lots of them in the ones to find out somebody who, if there was somebody who wrote a review that I would have written myself as a critical thinker. And I certainly came across one and I love it. So I'm going to read it to you word for word because it's worth every word. Here we go. This is from Nathan G. I hate to be the one to say it, but I'll say it. If Hawking did not have ALS, that's the disease that put him in his wheelchair, this book would never have been popular. I think people must have loved the idea of someone with so many struggles becoming so successful. Successful physicist? Absolutely. Successful teacher who can disseminate concepts to a layperson? Absolutely not. This book is terrible. It is horribly written, and Hawking is awful at explaining concepts. You know how really good teachers use analogies to explain complicated concepts? Hawking's analogies are no easier to understand than his original ideas. I did learn a few things. I learned more about why time travel is possible. I knew that as one approaches the speed of light, time for an individual slows down. However, I never knew why. The funny thing is, Hawking doesn't explain why. I had to take the information from different chapters and draw the conclusion of why for myself. Great teacher, ugh. If you want to be frustrated, bored, confused, and turned off to the readings about physics, buy this book. If you don't. Before I get off this page, I want to look at one part of it that's really, really telling. And that is, he talks about as a person gets closer to the speed of light, time slows down. He says, however, I never knew why. The funny thing is, Hawking doesn't explain why. Well, why doesn't he explain why? Well, because there is no physical explanation. It is told to be a law of the universe by who? Albert Einstein, the other greatly worshipped person in science today. And let's go forward because it's really interesting. Let's take a look at what more critical thinkers think about Stephen Hawking. This is an email from an email chain that I got. I've blocked out the names and all the people. These are sent to critical thinkers around the world on these email chains. And I'm going to read this all but the one word, which is a swear word. This is the title of this email that I received, you can see one day ago, was Stephen Hawking was a fraud. Black holes don't even exist, and Hawking knew it. Hawking, like Neil Tyson, is an all-media driven, Einstein-wrapped big bang black hole BSer. So, yeah, that's that's putting in a more crass manner, but yeah, you can say, Dave, black holes, of course we don't know. We critical thinkers think that in the middle of our galaxy is a very dense object that doesn't radiate, that we don't see anything like something of a sun coming off of it. Is it a black hole? Well, if you want to call it a black hole, you can call it a black hole. But black holes, as they exist in mainstream cosmology, we people outside the mainstream just are not buying. In fact, look at Stephen Crothers. Look him up. Stephen Crothers. This guy has taken the black hole calculations and have shredded them. I mean, if you want to know one thing, I'll tell you one thing. All of a sudden, in the middle of the calculations for black holes, two masses appear. What? A black hole is only one mass. How did that happen? That's a simple, ridiculous move that no one sort of cares about and like, oh, it's okay. No, it's not. Anyways, we outside just are not buying that. You also notice he talks about Neil Tyson, an all-media-driven, Einstein-wrapped kind of thing. Well, it's very true. Stephen Hawking is starting to enter in the same realm of being worshipped as who? Well, let's take a look at as who. No, not at this guy, but take a look at him. This is something I discovered when making my my documentary, Einstein Wrong, The Miracle Year. Take a look at this. Who does he look like? What is this? Well, this is the archetype from Hollywood of a mad scientist. Where did that come from? We know who it came from. Albert Einstein. I won't even put his picture up there because we know it. It's burned into our heads. We look at hair, white hair that's frizzy, and we think, mad scientist, the guy who's like, oh, creating all the time, running around, discombobulated. And if you think that it's just in Hollywood, and this isn't true, let's take a look at this guy. I won't even say his name. He's a famous, what I call, science evangelist. And this science evangelist is out there. And look at the picture, folks. Do you think this is coincidence? No. This guy wants to look like Albert Einstein. He's got that blackboard in the back with complicated symbols on it. He's got the white hair, a little bit, but it's long enough to say the normal guy at this guy's age would have cut his hair. He wouldn't let it look like this. This is an archetype. This is where we are going wrong in our society. We worship genius. And if you don't believe that, I have a meme to wrap all this up that I have put out there probably over a year ago now. And that meme, I think, is really, really telling. I took this and I put this together myself. And here we have, of course, what is the Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. And, of course, you have all the people around him. And I've replaced their heads with the people who we sort of worship today. And you have Carl Sagan, you got Einstein, you got Hawking, Neil deGrasse, and the guy, Higgs guy, and, of course, that guy who I never remember his name, and I don't care because, you know, these people aren't super geniuses. They're not super brains. When children are prodigies and they go to school at 10, they don't turn into double huge brains. We don't have this superhuman race. They just are accelerated learners. Let's face it, there are brilliant people, but the idea of genius has to disappear. And the idea of we worshiping these geniuses have to. And so I leave you with this for you to think about so that we don't fall in the same trap of becoming and worshiping and making memes and putting t-shirts and putting halos. That happens. We are putting halos around his head. Don't believe me? Just go back to slide 1 here. There he is, the halo of pi around his head. But let's read this. I think it's very poignant, something I wrote myself about a year ago. The moment we stop worshiping and start thinking critically and question others' truths is the moment science is free to move forward once again. And if we continue to worry about worshiping these great minds and trying to look smart when we know the problem isn't that we don't understand the complicated theories, that it's the complicated theories that are a problem, is the moment science goes forward. So I hope you are learning a little bit more today, and that's why we exist. And remember to hit subscribe below. And remember what I always say, don't take anything on faith. Stay critical, stay thinking. I am David D. Hilster. I am your science therapist. Ciao for now.